Today we're going to be installing MySQL-server, MySQL Workbench, and all the tools you need for practicing SQL queries on a Linux virtual machine. This is Ubuntu 20.10. I know this works for Ubuntu 18 LTS, so it should work for the 20 LTS as well. If Mac users are finding it difficult to set up the MySQL tools on their computers, a virtual machine can solve a lot of problems, and Linux virtual machines are lightweight and best of all, they're free. They're great for managing separated programming environments. If you don't want to go through the steps of installing MySQL, I will leave a virtual machine image that you should be able to just pop into a virtual box and fire it up there. So if you're a Linux user, you're familiar with the apt repository tool in the terminal. Basically what we're doing is enabling access to the MySQL repository by adding the require headers to the apt tool and then updating them. I'll leave a link to the repo page so you can download these headers from the source yourself. Well, it's like a Debian package. Once you've downloaded the package, right-click in the Explorer tool and select Open Terminal here, or open a terminal manually and cd to the directory where you've installed the Debian package. When you install the package, this screen should appear. By default, the tool will install a lightweight version. The tool will not add the headers needed to install the workbench and the other helpful features. Use the arrow keys on your keyboard to navigate the menu and make sure the MySQL preview packages are enabled before you press the OK button on the main menu there. Once that's done, you should see the tool unpack the app config files. This is where we want to update the apt header so we can install the MySQL tools. Simply just type sudo apt update. You shouldn't need to upgrade it or reset the terminal, but you can if it takes away some anxiety. After that's done and you're back in your terminal, you're now ready to install MySQL on your Linux virtual machine. Type sudo apt install mysql-server to get the installation started. Once that's done doing its thing, it should open a little interface. It will ask you twice to type in the password that you want to set for the root user of the server. This doesn't matter too much right now because we will be resetting it after. Once you make it to this screen, hit tab on your keyboard to hover the OK button and hit enter on your keyboard again to continue to the next screen. Use whatever settings are recommended for the password encryption unless you know what you're doing. You could run into some password encryption type not recognized on the server type issues and lock yourself out of the root user account. As soon as that's done, we want to run MySQL secure installation. This will go through a list of prompts asking you to configure the new server you just installed. Enter the password you configured earlier. This next prompt asks us if we want to validate the password component. This will toughen your server a bit, so it's recommended to set a value of 1 to 2 for an actual server. In this case, we will just go with 0 so we can type a simple password. Next, it's going to ask if you want to remove anonymous users. Type Y and hit enter. Then if you want to remove the test database that it comes with, type Y and hit enter. And lastly, reload the privilege tables. Type Y and hit enter again. Congratulations, the MySQL server is now installed. This doesn't come installed with the workbench, so we need to install that separately. Simply type sudo apt install mysql-workbench-community, then type Y to confirm. Once that's done, you now have the workbench installed as well. We can test that MySQL was installed properly by trying to connect to the server. To do this, open up a terminal and just type MySQL. You'll get denied access at first because of the password you set earlier. This is a good sign because that means that everything went well. To enter the server, you need to add some options to the MySQL command, -u for username and -p for password. After you type this in, it'll ask you for the password, and if everything goes smoothly, you should be connected to your MySQL server through the terminal. It'll be a lot easier for most people to see what's going on with the database through a GUI. This is what the workbench is useful for. Hit the Windows key or Mac equivalent and type workbench. You should see the application pop up and just open it up. Sign into the root user using the password you set, and you're now able to type SQL queries through the workbench and interact with your server with a GUI. Here I'm just going to create a simple database with the name Linux. If everything goes smoothly after you execute the query, you should see query completed at the bottom left. Lastly, to see the state of your database, go to the data export option in the left panel and you will see all of the databases on your server that your user has access to. And in the right panel will be the tables, relations, objects, etc. As you can see, our Linux database that we created is there, so everything's working smoothly. Congratulations on installing MySQL on Ubuntu.